Welcome to You Can Call Me Goddess, because you're so much more than a queen. My name is Manuk Vink. I am a trained intuitive energy healer specialized in transforming your body and your life. In this podcast, we are going to be diving into everything to unlock the goddess that you are within you. Think of it as the ultimate glow up from the inside out. It's time to unlock your power. It's time to unlock your magic. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another You Can Call Me Goddess podcast. And today's topic is one that if you start applying on a daily basis, I can almost 100% guarantee that you are going to start seeing change in your life. And the reason I say this is because there are so many people that have implemented this in their daily lives, especially successful people, athletes. So many people talk about the power of stepping into a persona. And today I want to start talking about it a little bit with the neuroscience perspective of it and how it kind of works, but also how I got here. And I've really been nudged in the direction of wanting to explore this further and seeing more methods of how we can step into this persona and why it is so valuable. Because if you're anything like me, I need to understand the why behind things, because that allows me to have it land more in my brain. It makes me grasp the information better. And it's so funny because I've always been very drawn to biology. When I was at school, that was one of the topics that I would be so good at because it made sense. And when things make sense to me, it sticks in my brain better. And I'm sure you're the same way, right? When everything connects, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. Now I see where the pattern is and it makes sense. So last week we spoke about self-doubt, and that kind of led me to this topic because self-doubt comes from negative self-speak, right? Comes from bad programming that we've collected from a young age. Now, the opposite of that is to step, and to get the opposite result of that, part of a way to do that is to step into a persona. Now, does that mean you leave yourself behind? No, not at all. What I think a lot of people, because it's not to do with inauthenticity. I think that's where a concern comes up. Like, but then am I being inauthentic? You are not, because the traits that you are wanting to embody, the traits that you are wanting to step into, the desire for the future that you want to have, and the vision that you have for your life, they don't come from nowhere. They probably come from intuitive hits, intuitive pulls. And even if the end goal is not exactly, or doesn't turn out exactly what you've imagined and will probably turn out even better, having that vision in place is probably the thing that you need to get you to the something better. And without that, you wouldn't get moving, right? You wouldn't step into the thing that you are wanting to create, because our higher self knows that we need a carrot to be dangled in front of us in order for us to move forward, in order for our human selves to be on board with something. So sometimes we'll have an intuitive pull to do something, and it will be so that we get guided into where we're going to end up. So you have a vision of what you want to create, and there is always an art to not holding on too tightly to that vision, but having that vision in the back of your mind, or an idea of where you want to end up, is going to allow you to take the steps to end up at an even better destination, quite possibly, right? Especially if you listen to those intuitive pulls and you allow your intuition to guide you, especially when you have precise scientific intuition that can guide you in a way that basically you can't go wrong when you use this type of intuition. Now we're going to talk about the persona, because I've been feeling pulled to dive into this because I myself have been coming across this feeling of wanting to fully land. I know where I want to end up, and I know that my higher self and source probably have even something better planned for me. And I know the vision of who I embody. There is literally a technique that I learned with intuition to step into a kind of like a skin suit or a suit. I know that sounds so creepy, right? Kind of like a suit, like your superhero suit, like the suit that you step into right before you go into something so that you hold those traits, so that you step into that persona. So what is like a magnificent intuitive to you was a tool that we used, or that I use also with clients. You step into that, and what does an amazing intuitive mean to you? Immediate intuitive results, being able to pick up information absolutely everywhere, being magic, having superpowers, and having it fly into you. Like, I don't know why that came to me, but that's how I see it. Like having that information fly like into you effortlessly, and you just know on the spot exactly what you need to say and when to say it. And it just comes to you so naturally, and just being a ninja when it comes to intuition. Now with that, you have a vision, you have a feeling of what that feels like. And before you go into an intuitive session, or before you start intuiting something, you step into that character, you step into that energy, and you basically see yourself walking into that energy and embody that fully. Why this is so valuable is because you step into that energy, and now you are one with that energy, and you are that version of yourself. And the only reason you can become that version of yourself is because you hold the traits of that version. So I'd been playing around with this because I noticed that when it came to, for example, my business and some of my insecurities that I have around, my stuff that I'm trying to work through, I realized that there is like a persona that I have, an idea of where I want to be, but something was just not clicking. I couldn't hold on to that persona for very long. There would be something that happens or something that I think about, and immediately I would be kind of knocked out of that persona. That would basically elicit the self-doubt. So I was like, okay, I need to explore what this is and why this is happening, and how I can land more fully into that persona. So I started looking into this a little bit more, and I started diving into really how, personas work, and why this is such a powerful technique. Just like visualization, it's such a powerful technique. And you may have heard me explain this before, but when I was studying psychology, there was a study that stuck with me. And it's so interesting because throughout life, you'll find breadcrumbs of things that stick with you. And they stick with you for a reason. Like your higher self, your guides are probably getting you to have that stick because it is valuable. It is valuable for you to have that information. And sometimes you will go literally to one event or one interaction just for one sentence of information that will change the rest of your life. And this is one of those moments because it always stuck with me. I was in a lecture hall, and there was this example of this test that they did, this psychological test? This study, that's the word that I was looking for. This study that they did where they had people train a muscle, and then they also had people visualizing and really believing that they were training a muscle. And I think it was like a small muscle. I don't remember exactly which muscle it was, but they've done it multiple times in multiple different studies. And what they found is that the people that visualized training the muscle and really believed training the muscle, they almost had the same results as the people that were training the muscle with muscular growth. So this always stuck with me because I was like, wow, the mind is so extremely powerful. And then there was something else I was listening to, literally, I think it was this morning, because I was like, okay, let me see, like, what else do I need? What else do I need for this to fully land? Like, what am I still missing? And although sometimes you have the information, but you can't quite put the puzzle pieces together, there was this thing, and I don't know, it just made me realize also, like, the mind is also separate to the brain. Like, the mind and the brain are two separate things. And this is something that I think we get confused a lot of the time. The mind is so extremely powerful, and the brain the mind interprets what the brain does, and the brain also reacts to the mind. So there's like this the brain actually responds to what the mind thinks and believes. And this is how we start to create things. Because when we talk about the subconscious mind, and I've spoken about this before, some of you have maybe heard me speak about this in sessions and things like that, because it is so incredibly important. When we talk about how powerful the subconscious mind is, it shouldn't go underestimated, because the subconscious mind creates 90 to 95% of everything around you. And you've heard me say this before, but I just want this to really land, because that means that if we can get the subconscious mind to create new neural pathways and to fully land in a belief, then we create that belief. Now, even more importantly, I don't know if it's more important. I think they're just as important, but on top of that, the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between reality and perception. And this is what boggles my mind. And I am constantly like, okay, how does that work? So there is actually this study that they did ages ago with, I don't know if I'm going to butcher the name, macaque monkeys or something like that. And they found that these monkeys, their brain fired the same way when they perceived someone doing something as when they did the action themselves. And they call this mirror neurons. And it was interesting because apparently when someone went to go grab something like a banana or food or something like that, that registered in the brain as an action that they would take. The same thing started firing in their brain as if they were to take an action. Now, when they saw like a tool being reached out to grab something, that didn't happen. So it was very specific to the person grabbing that thing. And so the mirror neurons is what they call it, started firing as the same way as if they were to take the action. So what is so interesting about this is the fact that our brain responds almost the same way as when we perceive someone doing something as when we do it. Now, this works the same way when we visualize something. So when we visualize something, we perceive in our mind that thing happening. So the same neurons start firing in our brain. The same pathways start firing in our brain. And so this is how we start creating new neural pathways. And obviously, this is one component of it, right? Because the more emotional we are about something, the stronger those neural pathways become. So that is why when we have a certain trauma response to something, or we have a bad memory of something, or, we get told that we are limited in something or not good enough, it triggers an emotional response within us. And because of that emotional response, that belief solidifies, that neural pathway solidifies. So that is why emotion is so extremely important with this. So when you are visualizing something, if you simply and this is where I caught myself, I would sit and I'd visualize, and I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel the feelings of what it would mean to be there, to be in the point where I achieved the result that I wanted to achieve. So let's take, for example, being able to effortlessly make more than $1 million a year or a month, whatever works for you. Or if 100K lands better a month with that, right? Think of a goal in mind and think of what that person would need to embody in order to be able to achieve that result. And when we think of that person, what comes to mind? What comes to mind? Like, are they confident in their ability to create money? Do they feel like they have a product that nobody else has? Do they doubt themselves in the ability to create this amount of money? So thinking of what is their daily routine like? What do they wear? How do they get up? What do they have skill sets in? So when we start getting a clearer picture of this persona, now we start to feel into what this person does. And it becomes more visible. We can identify more with the feeling. So the more traits, the more attributes we find, and there are so many cool ways to apply this. Like literally when we dive into financial mastery in some of my coachings and stuff like that, we really dive into this attribute thing because it is so valuable. The power of stepping into a persona is very much underestimated in my mind because it is so powerful when we can embody that. Because like I said, the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between reality and perception. So if you perceive that you are already there, then you are going to be there. And you might ask, okay, but how does that happen? I'm going to explain how that works, because when we fully embody this and not just visualize it, like kind of don't take time to really sit in that energy. And if you struggle, so I use my intuition a lot of the time. I play around with going down a future timeline where I have the thing that I desire, seeing myself and tapping into that version of myself and holding that energy. You could even play around with then asking questions, right? Like, what does it feel like? What did blah, 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 and play around with that. And that's really cool. But if you don't have intuition, you can either think of what that version of yourself would hold or be, or you can pick someone that you look up to that has the traits that you want to embody. And even if you don't have intuition, playing around with what lands best for you. When I mean you don't have intuition, you haven't trained your intuition yet, because we all have intuition. Play around with what lands best with you. Like some people, it works really well to think of somebody else because it's easier to step into another energy than the future version of yourself, because we have a lot of difficulty with, because of the limiting beliefs, seeing ourselves in a certain position. So sometimes it starts to work better when we can see ourselves as someone else. I think they literally have like a wordage for this in science called like the Batman effect, like where you step into the Batman energy and then you feel like Batman. They've done so many studies with this, even like, I think it's called the Proteus, I'm going to butcher this and I'm going to sound so silly. Effect, which is named after the Greek god that could shapeshift. They did studies where they had someone step into an avatar. I'm pretty sure they must have done this with like VR or something like that. And because they had certain attributes, this avatar, like either being tall, being strong, being confident, now because they were in that avatar, they started acting and behaving in the same way. This is how powerful it is, right? This is how powerful stepping into something like that is. I mean, even in your day-to-day life, think about moments where you're listening, and I've said this before because I know for a fact that we can all identify with this in one way or another. When we are listening to music, like imagine if you're listening to like rap music, right? And you're feeling like super badass and you put that on. Like I remember when I was like 12 years old listening to Avril Lavigne and felt so badass listening to that music. So my energy started shifting to become that. And I know when I listen to music and I walk down the street and I'm feeling confident, my energy becomes more magnetic as a result of that because I'm embodying something. I'm embodying a persona and I'm stepping into that energy. And so I carry myself differently. I walk differently. And maybe I talk differently. I don't know, because I won't be listening to music and talking at the same time most of the time. But you step and embody that energy. Now, these are small ways in which we do that on a day-to-day basis. And this is something that was so interesting to me. I read that there's like another study that they did where they got someone to, I think it was like do a test or do something. And yeah, it was like a test. And I remember because we played around with these tests studying psychology as well. So how they would work. It's very interesting how this stuff works. And they put on one group like a doctor lab coat, and the other group, it was the exact same coat, white coat, but they said to the other group that it was a painter's coat. And simply by that context, and then getting them to do a certain task or test, the people in the doctor's coat they became more analytical, more problem solving. They tapped into that energy more simply by putting on that coat. And the same thing with the painter's coat. Simply by putting on the painter's coat, they became more creative because they were stepping and embodying that persona. And this is so freaking cool to me because this literally proves that we can literally shapeshift into anything that we desire. Now, the longer term effects of this are, of course, like so cool because the more you step into that, the more you embody that persona, the more you become it. And this is where we're going to tie in the creator field a little bit. And this is something that I think most people, if you're not familiar with the spiritual world or you haven't heard of the creator field or ingredients and how all of this works, this is where it starts to get very cool because now we're starting to get the recipe of what you need in order to achieve the result that you are looking to create. And although a lot of scientists and people that have manifested and become very successful with financial abundance have tapped into this to some degree, this is a component that a lot of people actually miss, the component of the ingredients and the components of the creator field and how that works. So let's take a step back and let's look into this persona situation. Now, I've given you a couple of ways of how you can start connecting with a specific persona. You can literally research that persona and what they hold, right? What are the attributes that they hold? Now, how do we make this a daily thing? And why does it start to amplify what we are wanting to create in our life? A big key component of this is definitely repetition. And this is something where I was like, okay, I need to do this more often. Because yes, of course, I can sit and step into that version of myself for like 2 seconds, but it's not going to hold. And I need to get more specific because the more specific you get on what those attributes are that persona holds, the more we can start to emotionally connect. And like I said earlier, when we can emotionally connect, that is when new neural pathways are created. When we start feeling the emotions. So when you're visualizing being in that position of whatever you want to create, feel the emotions, what comes with that. What comes with being that persona, having achieved that result. Or when you visualize going into something, what are the emotions that come with that? Once you feel the emotion, you feel yourself smile, you feel yourself like having like a heart flutter, then you know, or laugh, or whatever it is, and you really feel it, then you know that you've emotionally connected. Now, the repetition component is very important because what happens is when we are looking at a persona and we're thinking of, okay, pick one. And by the way, I would suggest with a lot of these things, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. So this is because we get so excited, we want to do everything at once. So even if you just play around with becoming the best listener or becoming the best communicator. Okay, what are the attributes for that, right? And what would that mean? Now, going into a conversation, how can I embody those attributes? How can I step into that energy going into a conversation? And obviously we can go with the bigger ones, right? The most successful healer or intuitive on the planet. Like, what are the attributes of that? And we step into that energy. First, we get clear on what that is. Then if you have the ability, and this is why it's so cool to train your intuition, and what I do with clients is like looking into these things, right? If you have the ability to step into the timeline where you've achieved it, then you can go there and fully embody that and literally like almost walk into that person and feel that energy. Okay, I'm there. And what does that feel? What does this person do? What does this person hold? And then you can go to the nitty-gritty of how does she wake up? What is her daily routine like? Does she keep a messy office or is it organized? This is literally what got me to organize my office because I was like, I don't want to be a person with like a crazy office. I'm not very good at organizing. I'm calling myself out here. It's not one of my strong suits. But I got myself to do it. So, organizing. Does she have a clear routine? Does she set boundaries? Does she know her worth? Does she know her value? Does she know what she has to, like getting clear? Does she get up and get dressed, take care of herself before going out to do activities? And this is why I value my morning routine so much, because the persona that I know that I am, right? The best version of me, the version of me that has everything that I am working towards. She gets up, makes sure that she takes care of herself. She moves her body almost every single day. Well, she moves her body every single day. Some days more intensive, some days less intensive. She dresses well to present herself well. Like I like to take care of how I look and how I dress, even if it's a cute gym outfit, because it makes me feel ready for the day. It makes me feel more confident. It allows me to carry myself in a specific way. And this is where clothes and the way that you dress and all this stuff has an influence on what you are creating. And that can be very simple. Like you don't have to go over the top with it. Think of the minimum amount of things that you can do to step into that persona. It is literally the 1% change that you make every single day that before you know it, you've changed so much. And now you are this person. And the more we start stepping into that and embodying that, now it becomes more of who we are. It is repetition that allows us to become this person. Now, I had someone tell me a very good analogy, and I actually loved it. He told me, like, okay, take a ring, right? Or a bracelet that you have on and now place it on the other wrist or place it on a finger that you never have a ring on. It is going to feel so awkward. You are going to notice that it's there because your body isn't used to it. This is the same thing when we are stepping into a persona, when we're acting as if, and that's where the fake it till you make it kind of comes from, but in a different way, until we've done it so many times and now it becomes so natural to us. Now it is something that is part of who we are. So you aren't faking it anymore. It becomes part of your routine. Getting up, making sure that I take care of my energy, going out, like eating a nourishing meal. Like what does the version of you that has it all do on a daily basis? How does she feel? How does she handle money? How does she handle clients? What is her inner knowing about herself? And if you need inspiration, like I said, look up the people that you look up to. What energy do they hold? Use that as inspiration. Now we start to embody these things. And this is where action, because yes, it is super powerful to visualize things. That is very powerful because we tap into the energy. But now adding the action to it, adding the attributes to it, and adding the emotion to it, we solidify this about ourselves. We solidify and it becomes who we are. And we create those new neural pathways. So when we, and I know I said I still need to do a full episode on this, but I think we can start off a little bit with how ingredients work. So when we want to start programming something in our creator field, so the energetic body that creates all situations, circumstance, and matter around us, we want to start plugging certain ingredients in our creator field. In order to bake a perfect cake or a perfect bread, we need the right ingredients and the right ratios of these ingredients. So for each and every goal that you are wanting to achieve, there is a right set of ingredients to achieve that. Now we have that, for example, for if you want to have the ingredients for radiant glowing skin, there are ingredients that you can plug in your creator field and in your energetic body that creates that. There are ingredients to becoming a millionaire. Those ingredients, you can kind of look at them like attributes that a millionaire holds, like really easily. The reason they are able to have that $1 million or multi-millions is because they have the ingredients to hold that amount of money. Now, plugging ingredients is basically getting your energetic field to broadcast out these energetic ingredients. So, for example, an ingredient could be that when money's with me, it grows. Now, looking at how you plug that ingredient, there are multiple ways to do it, but physical action and emotionally connecting to it are very, very big components of it. So when we look at, there are techniques where you literally use your money and make it grow every single month. And so now, because you're doing that, you're setting aside money and you're getting it to grow every single month. You've put in a physical action, and now you no longer need to prove it to yourself because you have proof that you can make money grow every single month. And now it becomes a program in your energy. So when people tap into your energy, they read in your energy, oh, she makes money grow. I need to ask her how to grow my finances. If you have knowing that you're irresistible, right, as an ingredient, you've probably collected proof. Now, collecting proof can be as simple as, I know that I'm irresistible because when I walk down the street, everybody looks at me. And the more we program those beliefs in us with finding proof from the outside world, or literally saying, I know how I find money everywhere, could be an ingredient that you plug because you find money everywhere, whether that is looking at your laptop and going, wow, I have so much money right in front of me, or finding a quarter on the ground. Now you're shifting your energetic field, you're shifting your energetic body, and you start attracting situations and circumstances where you're going to find more money. And these are all parts of becoming that persona, stepping into that energy. So when people put on that lab coat of being a doctor, they go, I am a doctor now, so I am going to be more analytical. They play the role. They play the role automatically because we link that outfit with and that title with something and being something. So as a result of that, we start embodying it. Now, these are people that have just been told that and not even been given the instructions to do and be this persona. And this is why it's so powerful to, even when you dress yourself nicely, you start walking differently. Your energy starts to shift, right? When you're wearing something cute, when you're wearing something that you don't feel good in, don't you feel, I know I do, I feel uncomfortable. I want to make myself smaller. I don't want to present myself because I'm like, ugh, I don't like the way that I'm looking. I'd rather change. The moment I change, I feel better. It's the same thing with hair, right? If your hair is like past its due date to get washed, I don't feel energetically good. I want to wash my hair to feel good, and then I feel presentable again. And then I am stepping into my energy again. And that makes me more magnetic, and that makes me more out there and want to put myself out there. So these are all ways in which we can use external shifts, because the internal is where it starts, right? Everything starts in the mind. Everything starts with your emotions and the mind and making that connection. But sometimes it helps to add in that physical action to fully embody that persona, or taking those steps and being in that energy. And the more we do it, just like the ring that is on the wrong finger, the more we do it, the longer we carry out the action, the more natural it becomes. So now the ring doesn't feel weird on my finger anymore. It feels totally normal and like it's always been there. And the brain forgets about it because it is part of who we are now. This is why it takes about 60 repetitions for something to fully hold and be part of your daily routine. It's so funny because it's like literally a subconscious thing that just starts to happen. I remember when I started learning about clearing energies and clearing dark and heavy energies, there is like a routine that you go through. And when you, before you go to bed, you put up like energetic shields. And when I put my energetic shields up, I also know that in my sleep, I can get emotional because of dreams, because of all kinds of things. And when you're emotional, you drop your shields. So after repeating literally every single time, put the shields up, like, and then doing the action, now because it's become such an automatic thing without me knowing it, well, I do know it. When when you kind of wake up in the middle of the night and I fall back asleep, the moment I wake up, I'm like, I need to put my shields back up. And I'm not even like consciously aware of it. It's becoming an automatic autopilot thing. So this is where we start to shift our subconscious mind, because the subconscious is like an automatic pilot thing. The subconscious is what is creating everything around us. So if we're subconsciously beating ourselves up all the time, and if we're subconsciously telling ourselves that we're not good enough, now we are creating that. Now, people, if you think about a billionaire and what they've created, do you think they feel good enough about what they've created, right? Is that they know that the product that they have is amazing. They know that they can make more money. They are not worried about making more money because they have this inner knowing, not a hopefulness, not a maybe, but a knowing that they can do it over and over and over again. And that is where we want to get you. And the only way to get there is to create those new neural pathways, to believe in that. And part of that technique is to step into that persona. Start repeating it. Start showing yourself where you hold the attribute of the thing that you are wanting to create, because you hold it somewhere. So even if you're trying to program into your system that you are successful, but you keep seeing yourself not being successful, that's the problem. So when we're using affirmations and we're looking in the mirror and you're, I'm successful, your conscious brain goes, no, you're not. Where's the proof? So how can we link proof to you being successful when you feel like you have none? Play around with it. What would a successful person do? What would a successful person do? What makes them successful? Now, even already thinking about that and then getting out of bed. I was successful at getting out of bed on time. I was successful at doing my makeup this morning. I was successful at making a nourishing meal for myself. I was successful at walking the dogs today. I was successful at doing some work today. So I was successful at moving my body today. Now we're starting to find where you're successful. And then you can lock it in even more with what would a successful person do today. When you embody that persona, your mirror neurons start to fire off in the same way. And we start to create these new neural pathways. And that starts to broadcast out this new belief system into your creator field. And when you start broadcasting out that new belief system in your creator field, you start literally shifting your reality. Your brain is plastic. We can shift it. We can transform it. We can change it. It is whether you decide to or not. It is your decision who you want to be. And yes, to a degree, obviously, we have our attributes that are meant for us, but it's your decision which version of yourself you decide to be. And this is where it gets really fun. So I would look into, literally, if you can, after today, think about certain situations that you're going into. Say you're going into a workout class. Okay, say you're going into a Pilates class, or for a samurai sword fighting class. Okay. What would a amazing samurai, what attributes do they hold? Fearless. They know how to move their body. They know how to use a samurai sword. They will not back away from a challenge. So now, okay, how am I going to embody that? Think of a samurai. Act as a samurai. And the more you do it, the more you become that person. If you research any person that you look up to and you do their routine and you tap into how their mindset is, you will shapeshift into that person. Now, I do not recommend doing that, but I do recommend using it as a tool to collect data on what it is that you need to embody in order to get to where you want to be. And another thing that I just wanted to add in today, And I think this is going to be helpful because the thing is, we get so emotional, and it's our emotions that get in the way of creating things, but are also the most powerful tool to create things. So because our perception is dictated by our emotions, when we look at a situation, and so I've been playing around with this. Imagine, right? You have an email list and you're trying to grow your email list or your open rate. We get emotional about it. Okay, why is nobody opening my emails? Instead of getting emotional about it, take a step back. So, and you can do this with the persona, right? Like, why did that person not ask me about X, Y, or Z? Or why did I not get a follow-up date with someone? Why did the guy ghost me? Okay, we can look back, and obviously there's the reflective components, which you can add into this research. We can take a step back, and instead of getting emotional about it, put on that scientist coat. Okay, let's step into the scientist. When we look at the data that we're collecting right now, what am I missing? What are the things that I can shift around to create a change? Is it the way that I said hello? Let's stick with the email because it's easy, and then you can apply it anywhere. Is it my subject line? Is it my creator field? Is it the body of the text? Is it the structure of my email? Is it the, what do you call it? Is it the headline? Like, what is under the subject line? I don't know how to call that. You put the headline and the subject line, right? I don't know. Anyways, is it one of those two? What can I change about it? Is it the timing of when I send out the email? Now, those are attributes. When you're a scientist, what can you shift around to get a different result? And now you're taking the emotion out of it, you're shifting it around, and that is exactly, you can step into that persona of the scientist, and now you can use that to your benefit. Because it's the same thing when we think of someone who has been gambling, right? They've been gambling, and they go all in. They lose it all. Now, because they lose it all, they're now feeling nervous. They are feeling like everything is against them. They feel like they can't win it back. They're going to feel impulsive because they need that money back. Let's think it's like 10K, right? That they lost. So because of that, they are probably going to enter a losing streak because they are feeling emotional. They're going to make impulsive decisions. They're going to make the wrong decisions. And as a result of that, they are going to lose more money. Now, if this person were to take a step back and step into the scientist persona and get away from the emotions of the losing persona, or they were to step into the scientist persona and then step into the persona that knows that no matter what, they're going to make that money back, like they're not worried about it, the scientist and the scientist is going to figure out, okay, where have I lost? What actions have I taken that have gotten me to lose this? The person that has the inner knowing that it's going to come back to them now is not going to make reckless decisions and is probably going to energetically attract that money back to them. Maybe not even at the gambling place, but somewhere else. So they're not stressed. So probably because of that, they're going to make better decisions. And they are probably going to invite that energy back into them. This is how powerful our minds are. The more we focus on the thing that we do not have, the more we create it. The more we step into, we embody, we emotionally connect with the version of ourselves that has it all, that has the thing that you are working towards, the more you are going to attract that, the thing. And it's so, there's so many avenues, right? Where everything just starts to link in with that. So I challenge you as of today to try and look into this. See if every single day you can go into the day. You can go into the day and you can think about, what would the version of me that has it all do? How would she plan her day? What actions would she take? How would she present herself? How would she hold herself in this conversation? How would she feel about spending money here? So there's a difference where you're not recklessly spending money, but with intention again. So this is again where the manifestation world, sometimes I never got it to quite click. Like if you are that person, right? If you're that person and you can spend that money, now would you spend that money there? So being more intentional with it instead of just like, because I'm stepping into the persona of a millionaire or billionaire, I'm going to spend money like it's nothing at a luxury store. But if you're actually that billionaire or millionaire, would you be that reckless with your money, or would you be more intentional with it? And would you actually, especially as an intuitive, check if this investment is going to make me more money? Or is it going to take money away? And being more intentional with where you place your money instead of recklessly spending it somewhere, but knowing that if you decided to, you could spend the money there. So there's a different nuance there. Stepping into that energy. I could buy it, but I'm not going to because there's a better investment for me that I can make, that it's going to give me a return on investment more so. And there are obviously so many techniques where when you start training your intuition, you can tap into intuitively and look into what investment is going to make you more money and which one is not. And this is where it gets really fun. Now that on top of certain healings and techniques and tools that you can start using to amplify and move faster with this is where we start to accelerate and shift our timelines into the timelines that we are looking to create way faster. And we are all capable of doing this. And it becomes really cool when you start to witness how this starts to work. Now, if you are ready to start shifting faster than normal, then I just want to let you know we host weekly live events, and you can come join us there every single week live and ask your questions about anything that I'm saying that does not make sense or doesn't land, or you want more clarity or depth in. These are the moments where you can get intuitive advice and input on anything that you're struggling with, anything that is blocking you, to get you to fully step into the thing that you know is accessible to you. But we just got to get the human self there. So if you want to join those, then there's a link in the show notes that leads you to the free newsletter. And the free newsletter is simply to let you know about any new events, anything coming up, maybe some reads that you can apply for, free reads that you can apply for. It is all in the email list, in the free newsletter. So if you're ready to accelerate your growth and put that gas on the pedal and move forward faster, then come join us in the live events. Actually, this week on Friday, we are diving into the financial abundance webinar, Unlocking Financial Abundance and Success webinar 3. And I would love to see you there. Just find the link and join us, and we will be diving deeper into that there. Thank you so much again for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed, and your input is so extremely valuable. So if there is any topics that you want me to dive deeper into, feel free to reach out. All the information is in the show notes, and I will dive deeper into any of the topics that you want me to dive deeper into. Thank you so much again for listening, and I hope to see you in the next podcast. Thank you so much for listening to You Can Call Me Goddess. I am so happy that you joined us in this show today. If you feel like this podcast gave you any sort of life change or value, then share it with someone you think would also get a lot of value out of it, because maybe it could just be that one thing that changes that person's life. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a nice rating below or in the show, because we would love to expand more on topics that you enjoy and keep this podcast up and running. Anyways, thank you, beautiful, and I hope to see you in the next podcast.